So I was watching the new Genshin Impact livestream, right? Just to see what was going on. Now, let's be real. At this point, no one really expects anything from these live streams anymore. If you've been around long enough, you know the deal, but hey, who knows? So I was watching out of habit, and then there was a particular moment that pissed me off. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, is it another bad quality of life update? No. Are they paywalling exploration again by releasing yet another character who makes it easier to navigate the region? Good guess, but no, none of that. The thing that set me off wasn't some major gameplay decision or a controversial update. It was a single line of dialogue. That's it, just one sentence. And I'll play it for you now.
Is there really some kind of evil power inside the sacred flame crystals?
Is there really some kind of evil power inside the sacred flame crystals? That question would imply that at a point, most likely just before this person asked the question, we had a conversation about there being evil power inside the sacred flame crystals. So I want to ask, why did the game feel the need to ask the question when we already know about the evil entity inside the sacred flame crystals? And yeah, I know what you all might be thinking. This sounds small, it sounds almost inconsequential. But when you realize that these kind of questions, this kind of exploration, this amount of dumbing down is littered throughout the entire game, it goes from being inconsequential to extremely problematic. And yeah, I get it. Genshin is technically aimed at a younger audience, but do they really think that kids are that stupid? Why do they keep treating their audience like they can't understand basic concepts unless they over-explain everything? That's what I really want to talk about today. So if you like this kind of videos, make sure you drop a like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and of course subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Alright, let's get into it. So I've come to terms with something. With regards to storytelling, gacha games just aren't as good as other games. And I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just a fact. If you're playing gacha games, you really have to adjust your expectations. Like, you can't go in expecting the same level of storytelling or overall experience that you would get from, say, a high-budget AAA game. It's just not going to happen. Now sure, the lore in gacha games can be solid, sometimes it can even be on par with AAA games, but when it comes to the actual storytelling, that's where things fall apart. You're just not going to get the same level of depth or satisfaction, and honestly, that's fine, I've made my peace with that. But then, there is Genshin Impact. And look, I've openly said that I enjoy Genshin's lore. I even enjoy parts of the story to an extent. But there are things about it that piss me off, and one of the biggest things is how the game constantly underestimates its audience. Whether they think we're kids or adults, it doesn't really matter. They assume that we're all stupid. Because Genshin Impact doesn't just tell its story, it over-explains every single thing. Like, this is the kind of game that will show you something is happening, then have a character say that it's happening, then proceed to explain why it is happening. And every single time, I find myself asking the same question. Why? Why does this game feel the need to hammer in the same information in 3 different ways? Why do they assume that we need this level of hand-holding? You're already showing us what's happening. Why do you feel the need to explain it like we wouldn't understand otherwise? And just so you really get what I mean, I will show you a perfect example of this in action, because once you see it, you'll understand exactly why it's so frustrating.
Wait, what do you mean? What is this? Some sort of purification? The abyssal power, it's being cleansed away!
How can that be? I never knew that was even possible.
Atea! The mark of the abyss. It's gone. Yes, thanks to the Traveler. By the way, Traveler, are you alright? I just saw you purify abyssal power from Atea's body. That didn't injure you in any way, did it?
Okay, so the idea behind that scene is simple. Is the writers trying to remind players that yes, the Traveler still has abyssal cleansing powers. And you know what, so that's a good thing. It's important for the story to acknowledge these details, especially since this ability is barely used. So on paper, I have no issue with them bringing it up again. But here is where it pisses me off. We see the Traveler cleanse the abyss, great. But apparently, showing it happening isn't enough, because first, Molani then points it out. Then 2 different characters exclaim that they have never never seen this before, and just in case we somehow didn't catch it the first 2 times, the person being cleansed confirms that yes, this was abyssal purification. And then, after all that, just in case we did not catch it, just in case we were dumb enough to not know exactly what was going on, Morlani then proceeds to say, I just saw you cleanse abyssal power from Atea's body, just so we can understand exactly what was happening. In this single scene, we were told, no, hammered over the head with the fact that the traveler can cleanse the abyss 5 times. 5! And I just have to ask, was this really the best way to do it? Like, I get it, I understand why characters would be surprised, but why did we need 5 separate confirmations of the same thing? Did we really need to be told again and again after already seeing it happen? This is exactly what I mean when I say Genshin dumps things down. The game is obsessed with making sure we understand things, even the simplest things, and honestly, it's quite insulting because sure, I get that kids play these games too, but do the writers really think even kids wouldn't understand what just happened after being told once or twice? Do they really think that the only way for people to get it is to say the exact thing 5 to 6 times? I don't get it, I really don't. And you know what? Regardless of what I said about gacha games in the beginning of this video, this is not even a gacha thing. This is something specific to Genshin Impact. Even other games made by Hoyoverse do not do this. Take Zenless Zone Zero for example. That game doesn't beat you over the head with the same piece of information. The only time it goes into detailed explanations even close to this level is when it's introducing something completely new, like a character or an item or an event that actually needs some context. But even then, Zenless Zone Zero understands that once something has been explained, you don't need to repeat it a million times. Instead, it let things be referenced later naturally. And then, you look at a game like Wuthering Waves. Now, I'll be fair, Wuthering Waves' overall story isn't as strong as Genshin's yet, but that's because of time. We have to wait and see how it develops. But if we're just talking about writing, it's already way better than Genshin. Wuthering Waves doesn't treat its player base like they're kids. It introduces concepts, explains them once, and then references them later without over-explaining, just like Zenless Zone Zero. The game respects the player's ability to remember things, and I just have to ask, why does Genshin believe everything needs to be over-explained? Why do they feel the need to spell things out 5 times when we already got it the first times? It's beyond me. Alright, so this was just a quick little tangent, just had to get this out of my chest. But what do y'all think? Does this kind of thing not bother you at all, or does it also rub you the wrong way? For me, it's one of those things that you can ignore until you can't. Like at first it's whatever, but once you start noticing it, it just won't stop standing out. And suddenly, it makes the whole story feel a bit less interesting. But yeah, let me know in the comments, does this bother you or is it just me? And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.